So here we have a 2-by-2 formation. You can tell that the back is even, kind of deep, but he's wide. You can tell just by alignment he's about set to the tackle. So we kind of have an idea that this might be coming. Obviously, with jet motion, you should already know going into the game if you're going to get it or not. Some teams, they live in it. Other teams, they use it as a decoy. In this particular case, they were trying to get one of their speedy receivers to the edge. It's the middle of the field. It's first down. So we kind of have an idea that something might be coming. So as we start the play, you can see that he's coming from the side. So the point of emphasis here is that now we have a 2-back set. He's got to make sure that he fits, and he's going to set the edge right here. You can see the safety creeping down. Now, the one thing that I would like is I would like this safety to work a little bit closer into the middle of the formation to close that post off. But he's okay knowing that we kind of had an idea that backside that you could get the glance route, so we're kind of doubling backside. You can see the safety as he works down. Okay, he's staying high just in case that we get some sort of RPO. But once that kid makes contact with the same linebacker, then we're coming down. The other thing that I like to see is just kind of think of your option rules. If you've ever played an option team, I want to play man on this side. I want to get my eyes to my man because the motion's going away. If I get motion to me, I'm in a zone. So you can see this corner, he kind of opens up and he zones out. And so we're kind of almost playing, if you think of it, kind of like a little bit of a cover 3 concept where he's going to go low, he's going to stay high. So if he were running out or a bubble, he's going to trigger right now. If it was bubble and go, or even if we get a double post, let's say we get double post, he's going to sink, collision, and carry. He should be working to the post. So you should see him kind of come down. He's going to zone up. He should work to the middle of the field right here. Okay, so let's review that. Motion comes. Okay, Sam's going to set the point. The running back doesn't do a great job. If he were to come out, then we would take him because he becomes the new number 2. Everything kind of gets cloudy, plays over. Here we have a 3-by-1. They're motioning back, so I wanted to put in some passes just so we see. So what we know is when we get this, we're going to motion down and he's going to kind of sink down and replace. So anytime you have a motion away from the back, you got to think something's up. This is just a decoy. So here, ends up just being a decoy. Linebacker comes down. Safety is probably a little too aggressive. What I tell my kids is, where does this end up? If this ends up in the running backs to the motion side, he needs to stay a little bit tall. This is kind of a young player, but still, he needs to understand that I don't necessarily need to be super aggressive. I want to kind of come down. I don't want to just come aggressively down. I can kind of sink down. I want to travel across. The nice thing about this is that once you get the motion, this becomes a typical 2 receiver set. So these guys, I've got 3. My 3/2 is still set. All he has to do is kind of work back. He can work down, knowing that if he comes all the way through, that he's going to push the flat. And so what we get is, with this, if we were to get a post, we would get the double on the post. We should get 2 guys on the post, and that leaves your box kind of intact. So you can see here, safety sinks down a little bit too aggressive, but he checks the X. Nothing's going on backside. They're trying to run front side, and we end up getting a scramble out of it, and the quarterback ends up just throwing it, and we end up getting the pick, which is a great pick. He ends up tipping it to himself. So they end up running some kind of, it's basically like 2 verticals back here, and we're in it. Now let's look at it with the tight end. Here we've got a reduce, we've got a reduction. These guys have communicated about that. We've got the back over here, so we should know, okay, back is coming to the running back, so the safety knows he can now be aggressive. And here's how we get the exchange. So this becomes a 2-by-2 set. He knows he's going to take anything that comes out here because we want to eat that. We want to eat the back with the outside linebacker. He is working through the middle, looking at the tight end, because if the tight end were to go vertical, he's going to take the vertical. So I look at how do we cap the 3 vertical routes. Well, he's got him. He's got him. If the tight end were to go vertical, we would have it capped. With the motion going this way, horizontal motion. So as we get that horizontal motion, okay, if he were to turn up, first of all, linebacker should collision. He's going to sink over top. So if we were to get some sort of like a post and a wheel, he would take the wheel. The safety would eat the wheel and allow the backers to play the box. So here we have a bash concept from a tight end. They actually pull their tight end. So we get the counter GY from this. And if you notice, the backers are able to play the play. Okay, and because we get motion, now the outside linebacker is coming right off. We're not worried about, we're going to blow this up, anything that comes inside. So he's looking at this. He sees that the back doesn't get it. The quarterback's got it. Now we're going to eat the back. Now with this offense, this guy, this is a Power 5 kid, so we kind of had an idea that jet motion, we can kind of eat the jet motion and play with it with the guys who are a little bit more aggressive. That outside linebacker, though, should always check before we go. We get the snap out right here. He replaces. Eat it up in the backfield. So now we get motion from FIB. Okay, safety's kind of leverage. And the reason why I don't put them all the way out here is because here's a vertical threat. So if I get a vertical threat, I've got to make sure that I'm there for the vertical threat. As we get this motion back in, it ends up being 1, 2, 3 backs. So normally what you would do versus diamond or that kind of inverted bone, that's what you would do. That's what you would do here. Okay, so as we get this safety, as you can see, he's kind of working down. He's working through the middle. We're going to man this. We're going to zone this. So let's look at it from the beginning. Outside linebacker sets the edge. You can see that the tight end is going vertical. They end up booting it away. But here's the key. If he ends up booting away, so he sees it, he ends up coming back. I would like this safety to just kind of sit on that hash, even though that they're running a boot. But we end up climbing. This ends up being a one-man route. If they were to try to throw to the tight end, I've got him underneath. I've got him. I would like him to be a little bit more on top. And then obviously we've locked up the backside. Nowhere for him to go. And because of the way that we're structured, outside linebacker sees it, he plants and he goes right now. Even though he misses the sack, that quarterback's got to play under pressure. Mike's going through. So the nice thing about this is the first linebacker takes the contain. Next linebacker cuts. He needs to be a little bit more cognizant of the over route. Safety, because he doesn't trigger so fast, is able to come back on that tight end. Everything ends up working in our favor. Last one from a double tight end set. Okay. We get motion. Safety's already down. Again, if we were to get verticals, corner's going to choke this tight end. He's in the middle for this. We've got this guy covered up right here. Safety comes down. He sees it and he's able to pop back. So we kind of set the point right here. Safety's checking the jet. He's able to fold back in. Mike linebacker just needs to scrape across a little bit faster. But it's 3rd and 6. They're trying to get a first down in the middle of the field. Now it's 4th and 3, which is manageable for the defense if they feel like they want to go for it. So these are just simple ways. Instead of just making, just rocketing that guy down there and slinging, or maybe even, like a trapping and popping out, as long as you just use simple adjustments in your coverages, you should be able to adjust to most formations. But the key is, if you look at it, this is a 22 personnel formation. I've got 2 backs. I've got 2 tight ends. The push motion, so the motion of the jet is pushing everything this way. So you're not going to get a direct vertical threat from this guy. It's going to take him a while. and usually they're going to push him through. So as long as you have kind of that flat player, here he's motioning over, he's going to eat the back. If the back continues to go out, he would take it. So as long as you have kind of a low and a high player and then somebody closing off the post, you should be okay. Going back to the 2x2 set, looking at this, you want to make sure that your DBs are capping all the vertical routes. The moment that guy moves in motion, now that guy can replace the other guy, and he can kind of sink into the curl and not necessarily be so aggressive. You can do different things. If you run trap 2, make sure that he understands he's got to eat anything that wheels, and now he becomes the vertical player. So there's multiple ways to do it, and it doesn't really matter who ends up being your force player, but they have to understand that the backers are going to eat the run and that the DBs have to make sure that they take those vertical routes.